Hi, I'm Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing, and welcome to Power to Sing Live. This is my 12th broadcast. We're broadcasting today on an overcast day in the state of Utah in the United States. So to begin with, I want to make sure that you can see me, and so I'm going to bring up my see me and hear me. So I'm going to bring up my live chat window here, and so I can make sure that those who might have joined us can in fact see me and hear me. Right. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you. Hi. Patios, Eupatios. And you can hear me okay? And you can see me? Great, all right. So today's broadcast, I'm going to talk a little about nasality. And this, somehow, for some reason, this comes up quite frequently. And so we'll talk about how not to sound nasally when you're singing, how to fix it. And then I'll do a Q&A, and I'm hoping to be done rather quickly today. Don't want to take a lot of your time, but this is an opportunity for us to interact. I'll just say hi to Samo4KA. Greeting from Russia. Hi. It's just great to see you, and nice to have you with me today. As you know, this broadcast, if you're not able to attend it live, will be also available to you on YouTube after the broadcast. So, a lot of us have heard people who talk kind of nasally. In other words, when you hear them speak, you can hear that there's a little bit of a nasally tone to the quality of their voices. And so, what is the cause of that? Fundamentally, the cause of nasality when you sing and when you speak is the larynx. The larynx is riding high, and you can hear that when I raise my larynx, it goes a little bit into the nose. So, and that's a fast way to check. If you feel like if you're wondering whether or not it's coming out of your nose, put your hand on your nose, and if it starts to change the tone or the pitch, then you know that it's in your nose. However, if when you pinch your nose there's not much difference, then you're probably fine. But if I'm speaking like this and I put my hand on my nose like this and I really get a really different kind of a sound, then you know that the tone is jamming into your nose. And so that's a quick way to check it. Now, why do we? I don't exactly know. I think there's some personalities they've built their lives, their self-image on this kind of this high nasally sound, and so I don't know. That's their voice, and they kind of talk like that. I think it has to do with a little bit of a stress, and so how do we get rid of that in speaking? I frankly don't know, other than you doing the same kinds of exercises that I do for singing. And so if I were to work with a student who had this kind of a sound, the first thing I would do is I would try and get that larynx down. The exercises that I use cause things to happen. So this first exercise causes the larynx to go down. Or in the case of the female voice, now you can hear there's a little bit of a hooty sound or kind of a dopey sound behind that, as opposed to. So even with the bubbles, you can get a little bit of that. You can get a little bit of a high larynx. So I would probably illustrate it like this. That's the one we want, that low one. So that's what's behind the bubble. As opposed to. So step number one, get the larynx down with this hooty dopey sound. Now the dopey sound is illustrated by if you put your hand here on your Adam's apple and say duh, not duh, duh. It won't go. The larynx stays there, duh. But if I say duh with that dopey duh sound, it drops. It drops duh, duh, duh. Probably half an inch or an inch with my larynx. For some reason, I have students who can't find the duh sound. Sometimes I think they're maybe embarrassed more than anything. So experiment with this when you're on your own, if this is something that's embarrassing to you. But with that dopey sound then, huh, huh. Some people refer to it as a yawn. Oh, that really lowers the larynx. Oh. Now you can do the same thing with, instead of doing bubbles, gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 as opposed to gee, 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 or gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. So if I say, let's experiment. I haven't tried this before. Let's see what happens if I say gee. You can hear that when the larynx goes up, it goes where? In your nose. So the first step in singing, if you've got this sound being driven into the nose, it's likely the larynx. And so these exercises, gee, 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 or gee, 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 or this gee, 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 gee. Now those exercises are available in the Knowledge Center under the different vocal types, and there's a free download there, and many of them, or most of them, contain that 1.5 scale, and many of them contain that dopey sound. So you can not only do gee, but g g g g g g g g g g g G-U-H, g, or goo 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 goo. And you can hear when I'm going to turn sideways and pinch my nose again. Goo 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 goo. But if I don't have that dopey sound, goo 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 goo. So that high larynx is what drives into the nose, and these dopey exercises with gee, g, goo, or the bubble lips will get the larynx down. If it's in the song and you can hear it going nasally, replace the words with the dopey gee or the dopey goo or the dopey g. Or you can even do the words kind of dopey, exaggerate it a little bit, see what happens. So if I'm singing what song? If I say no, if I sing no, nobody knows the trouble I'm exaggerating that. But if I said, nobody knows the trouble I've seen, nobody knows, nobody knows. So by just lowering the larynx, I can, even with the dopey sound, with the words, I can get the sound out of my nose. That's the first thing that I'd recommend. The second thing I'd recommend is to be aware of how you're saying your words in your song. Most of the time, if I hear a student that is going nasally in the song, I recommend that they just speak the words. No, let's just say it's, nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. But when they start singing the song, they'll say, "No, nobody knows the trouble." So something is changing from the spoken sound. Nobody knows the trouble. I don't say nobody knows the trouble I've seen. They say nobody knows the trouble I've seen. But when they start singing it, they go, nobody knows. So the emphasis then is speak it and then add the melody to it, but don't change anything when you start to speak with the melody or sing. So we want to speak it in the song like we speak it in our speech, or it's, in other words, patterned after the way we talk. So make sure that you're saying the words in the song like you say them when you speak. Third thing is the position of the tongue. Sometimes the tongue drives the sound up into the nose. It's because it's tense, and they're arching it in the back. If this was the back here, they're arching it up, so it's drawing it back and getting it up to go up into the. So they're touching the top of the hard palate or the soft palate, and there's no place for the sound to go but into their nose. So you want to make sure. A very simple way to check is your tongue resting, relaxed behind the lower teeth. And in many of the things that we're singing, many of the vowels and consonant combinations, the tongue's going to move around. But that should be home base. Even when we're doing the bubble lips. Sorry. The tongue can rest comfortably behind the lower teeth. Check yourself frequently. Tongue rests comfortably, relaxed behind the lower teeth. Same thing. Many of the vowel consonant combinations, the tongue can rest very comfortably, just barely touching the lower teeth. This is going to help keep the tongue from pulling backwards, arching upward, and driving the sound into your nose. So after speaking and then after the tongue position, the last thing I'd recommend, and this is like if all else fails, and this is something that I heard somewhere else. This is not, this is kind of another way to do it. And frankly, it's a way to manipulate the soft palate to raise it a little bit. So I don't really recommend this. I don't use it that much, but in a hardcore case, if I have to get to fix it really fast, I would say caw, 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 caw. And then I would go, and I would do it as I'm inhaling like this. Caw, 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 caw. Don't vocalize like I just did. Just inhale and say it. And you can feel the back of the mouth open up. And then if you then can do the phrase with that position, then that's going to generally keep the sound from going up into the nose. Okay? All right, so those are really 4 pretty fail-safe ways. But I like the first one where we're doing the dopey sound on the various exercises, because that's easy to transfer into a song, and it's easy to help. It crosses over into your speaking voice. Definitely will help a student who has kind of this high larynx, high stress kind of feeling, to get this down and have this feeling of relaxed and low and stable larynx. So I really prefer that over everything. Then being careful to pronounce the words like you do when you speak. Don't change the way you pronounce them when you sing. Sometimes that drives the sound into your nose. Thirdly, the position of the tongue should be relaxed, not stressed, not pushed into the back, not tensed into the back, just touching the lower teeth in relaxed fashion, resting there, returning there after whatever consonant and vowel combination you're using. And then the fourth one, which I don't really recommend that often, but in a pinch, you can do that reversed caw as you're inhaling. Okay, that's really my tips for today. I don't want to spend too much more time on this. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And thank you. Hallelujah. They love my videos. I appreciate that. It's nice to get the feedback. And Aref, nice to see you again. Thank you for joining us today. Aref asks a question. I feel like when I hold my larynx down with kind of yawning, for example, while doing the dopey exercises, my swallowing muscles get tough. Am I right? I'm missing a little bit of the question because I'm thinking that probably I'm not understanding what it means to have tough swallowing muscles. But let me illustrate what happens if I hold my larynx down with the kind of yawning. Oh, oh, oh. Now, if I try and swallow that way, oh, whenever I swallow, the larynx is going to go up. But if we do the dopey sound, duh, or oh, and do the yawn, you can feel the larynx being pulled down. So there are muscles below the larynx that you are using to pull it down. If you add a little bit of that dopey sound to the song or to the exercise, it's going to hold the larynx a little bit. It's like I was grabbing it and just keeping it there while I'm doing the exercises. So in that case, it's providing more of a holding power for the larynx than the ones above it are to pull it up. So in that case, while doing the dopey exercises, my swallowing muscles get tough. We cancel out the swallowing muscles. We negate them. We try and diminish the swallowing muscle, which are these muscles under the chin here are called the digastric, and they're attached to the top of the hyaloid, from my understanding. And so when we swallow, we pull it up, and that activates a number of other things that must occur when we swallow. So I hope that clarifies it. The dopey sound cancels the tendency for the larynx. Well, the dopey sound holds the larynx down while we're doing our exercises or even the song, and it cancels out these upper muscles that pull the larynx up. Are there any exercises to heal vocal? So David, could you clarify that? To heal vocal? Or are there exercises to heal the voice? Is that the question? And my next question, David, would be, what is needing healing? Are there nodules on the vocal cords? Is there a hemorrhage? Is there something else going on? Is there acid reflux? If you could be more specific. Samo 4KA, how to make mum 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 perfectly with nice sustain. Sorry, let me finish David first. Are there any exercises to heal the voice? David, can you be specific on what you mean by healing the voice? If you can give me an idea of what damage there is, then I can address that. How to make mum 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 perfectly with a nice sustain. Well, if you're new at this, I don't think it depends on what the pitch is. And so if we try and do it above the bridge, the first bridge, it can be impossible. But once you learn the bridge, so the location on the piano in your in the pitch is going to be what makes the difference. If I said mum mum, so if I said mum 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 mum, well, that's the A below middle C. That's not too hard.
The way I sustain that is I take this low breath, so the tummy out, air in, and then as I'm doing the mum, I try and pronounce it ma 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 ma, and I just kind of make sure there's a steady flow of air. So I have to have a steady flow of air, and it's the air is leaning against the vocal folds. Ma 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 ma. But the hard part gets harder as you go up in pitch. So if I want to sustain that an octave higher, but I don't know how to go through the bridge, the first thing you have to do is you have to learn to bridge. That means you have to be able to sing through that break area or the middle. All right, now once I can do that, then the same principle applies on the upper. Ma 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 ma. So at first, I especially recommend that you don't do it too loud. Your vibrato needs to be nice and even. The voice needs to be in balance. So in other words, the larynx is down. The vocal cords are staying adducted. They're staying connected. And I have a support from I'm using the diaphragm to drop down, fill the lungs, and pulling my tummy in gently. And I'm keeping that steady flow of air against the sound. Ma, 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 ma. Early on, the most challenge I faced was just keeping a steady flow of air. So I think about just one of the visuals that I have is if this was our truck and I were pushing, if this was air, if this is a semi truck, I'm leaning against this and keeping a steady flow of air as it pushes it down the highway. Let me address some other questions. Strain when hitting high notes. So this is in follow up to, are there any exercises to heal the voice? Strain when hitting higher notes and nodules. So David, do you currently have nodules? Have you been to see the doctor? Are they hard nodules or are they soft nodules? If you could answer that for me. And our Arif said, thank you, Chuck, for your answer. I got it. My last question is it possible to combine the dopey sound with a twang? Well, I don't think so. And I don't know that I would necessarily need to do that. For example, let's just say it's a nay, nay, nay sound. Nay, nay. You see, nay, nay, nay is a high larynx sound. Nay, nay, nay. So we use that as a temporary way to connect through the bridge into your head voice. Nay, nay, nay. So by definition, it's a high larynx. So if I tried to do the dopey sound with a high larynx, then it's nay, nay, nay. It's no longer dopey. So my answer, to be short, no, it's not possible. If you can do it, though, let me know. Okay, there's soft nodules. Yes, there are ways to rehabilitate the voice. And I've seen Seth Riggs do this. Basically, fundamentally, what has to happen is you have to stop pulling chest voice. If you're pulling chest and raising the larynx, then the nodules will return. So rule number one, follow the doctor's prescription. The doctor may say you need to have 7 days of vocal rest or whatever. They will know what to do in terms of how much vocal rest. That's step number one. Do everything your doctor tells you to do. The second thing is then you want to vocalize, begin vocalizing, but you don't want to push it. You don't want to pull the chest voice. So I can't recommend someone to you to do this because I don't know who you work with. I would, in my hands, I would start you out with very easy exercises at a lower medium volume, and I would get you through the bridge and into your head voice properly. so that you're not pulling, you're not straining, and this will work the area that's more likely where you have nodules and allow the healing process to occur. So I would keep you in a mix voice so that there's no strain or stress. So we want to balance the voice gently, easily, with more closed to mid-closed vowels, and do that until we can gradually add more load to the chord structure. And that's how you rehabilitate your chords. So yes, David, it's absolutely possible. Where the problem lies is if you get nodules because of incorrect singing, you can rest your voice for a year, and if you go back to incorrect singing, you're going to get the same problem again. And so the most important thing to do is, once you get a release from the doctor saying you can now vocalize, is to do what I described. Okay. Let me just double check here to make sure that I've covered questions that you've asked. It looks like most everyone's questions have been answered. Thank you for joining me today. We're gonna go ahead and close. It'll be under 30 minutes. This will be available to you in YouTube, and I'm putting these live broadcasts in a playlist so you can get to them quickly. Thank you for joining me today. You can sing higher with beauty, confidence, and power. I'm Chuck Gilmore, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.